Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. Two key aspects on which the oil and gas industry anchored played up very prominently last week. That's the issue that must be legislated and those that have to do with commitment, mutual agreement and word of honor, which are even as important as legislations. PIB, it never really left the center of discourse. Now, a fresh commitment by the federal government to work with National Assembly is to ensure its passage. On the other side, which you may call gentleman's agreement, Nigeria asserts commitment to OPEC's oil output pact, even as Dr. Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo harps on OPEC-Russia relationship. The Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, is giving a thought to the proverbial goose that lays the golden egg. Plus, NNPC Retail is not only pushing petroleum products to all the nooks and crannies of the nation, it also is pushing and putting robust communication in motion and an extra shine on the brand. That's how the package looks like. We'll take you straight to the stories after this break. My name is Akin Agbijule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
I thank the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation for considering the plea of the people and the business community to relaunch a depot after over 5 years of inactivity.
Financially, the scholarship has helped me to pay my school fees and other monetary activities associated with studying as a medical student.
I believe other corporate organizations should take on the same path to encourage students in school.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
John, what is this? This is oil well. Oil well? NNPC is what the Ghanaians called black gold. There is plenty money in this business. By this time tomorrow, I'm going to buy a brand new jeep. Jeep! Next month, I'm going to buy a whole house. House? Yes! You need to show me the way. Show us the way. You mean you want to be rich? Oh yes! You want to level up? Oh yes! You see, the ones there, let's go and pack it. And after that, I will take you there. Let's go! Hello? Oga? Sir! Sir, these people have started their operation again. Abeg, send me 5 battalion FG guys. Thank you, sir. So, sir, you can buy everything you want to buy. I will buy a shop. You are under arrest. Your hand on your head. If you move, I'll move you. Let me warn you all. Anybody or community that is involved in vandalization of our oil pipeline will face the wrath of the law.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed the readiness of the federal government to work hand in hand with the National Assembly for the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill (PIB) in order for Nigeria to derive maximum value from its vast hydrocarbon resources. President Buhari made this known during his 59th Independence Anniversary address to the nation.
We will, working with the legislature, soon pass the Petroleum Industry Bill and amendments to the Deep Offshore Act and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contracts Act into law.
It stated that the Deep Offshore and the Production Sharing Contract laws would also be reviewed to shore up the nation's revenue from petroleum resources.
We still remain focused on optimizing the revenues generated from the oil and the gas sector.
The PIB is geared towards the promotion of efficiency and transparency in the Nigerian oil industry. The bill, when passed, would commercialize the operations of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and allow it to compete favorably like other national oil companies.
We will also continue our fight against illegal bunkering of crude oil and the smuggling of refined petroleum products across our borders, including the diligent prosecution and conviction of offenders found guilty of these acts.
As part of efforts to promote investment flow into the Niger Delta oil-producing region, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Silva, and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, have urged host communities to embrace peace and support oil-producing companies operating in their domain. Chief Silva and Malam Kyari stated this during their stakeholders' visit to host communities and facilities of Oil Mining Lease OML 25 in Kula Kingdom of Akokutoru local government area of Rivers State. The visit was in furtherance of the peace deal brokered by the NNPC GMD under the supervision of the Minister concerning the disputed mining lease between NNPC's joint venture partner, Shell Petroleum Development Company SPDC, and Belema Oil, held in Abuja. In their separate addresses at the occasion, they assured indigenous and traditional rulers in the communities that the federal government was keen on attracting investment to the area and create jobs for the teeming youths. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Silva, told members of the host communities that for investments to thrive in the area, there was the need for the people to live in peace and harmony with oil companies, as well as cooperate with one another.
The federal government is with you. The president is with you. It is time for us to change strategy and to ensure that we begin to bring the benefits of investments to our community. If we don't make our communities peaceful, investments cannot come. The investors are ready to come here. And without the investors, there will be no jobs for our youth.
Malam Kyari said the NNPC had the mandate of President Muhammadu Buhari to work with various stakeholders towards bringing lasting peace to the oil-producing host communities and, by extension, the entire Niger Delta region.
What we have done is to engage the community and its leadership to make sure that this dispute between them and Shell is brought to a closure, as a result of which there will be more community engagement, and therefore they have agreed to vacate the facility and allow petroleum operations to continue in this facility.
The GMD said following 2 years of disputes around OML 25, which led to the shutdown of the Belema flow station and loss of about 35,000 barrels of oil per day, NNPC had no option but to engage the communities towards ensuring lasting peace and restoring production.
Priority is peace for the community, not oil production. But we know that ultimately when peace comes, oil production will come back and we can see the return of about 35,000 barrels of oil production per day.
Speaking on behalf of traditional rulers in the Kula Kingdom, His Royal Highness King Kroma Amabibi Eleki expressed delight with the peace deal and their readiness to work with government towards bringing development projects to the people. Also in his remarks, President General of Kula Youth, Mr. Ekine Japos, lauded the federal government's peace overtures through the minister and the NNPC, saying it had given hope to the youth in the community.
The coming of NNPC boss and the Minister of Petroleum is a good thing and a welcome development for us. We received it wholeheartedly and we are happy for that, and we say thank you to them and thank you finally to Belema Oil.
Other highlights of the occasion included the commissioning of NNPC Belema JV potable water project, as well as the groundbreaking of President Muhammadu Buhari 85-kilometer Kula Degema Port Harcourt Expressway. Earlier, the minister and the GMD paid a courtesy visit to the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and assured him of partnership with the state to shore up peaceful investment climate in the state.
Rivers State has always supported oil companies who operate here. And that was why we took it on ourselves to see that Shell reconciles with the community. It behoves us as people from this area to now begin to change the narrative. And I believe this is a good starting point to change that narrative.
Overall peace has come to this community. If there's any other agreed party that is not visible to us, we'll do that, we'll put them on the table and resolve all the issues. So I do not see anything stopping us from making progress in this community.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Silva, has affirmed Nigeria's position to ensure compliance and the security of crude oil and gas supply, saying that greater focus must be placed on monitoring market volatility and ensuring that the balance of supply and demand accurately reflects pricing matrix. Speaking at the Russian Energy Week's high-level plenary session on maintaining energy connectivity in an unstable world, Chief Silva stated Africa's readiness to ensure a global balance of supply and demand for oil, even as he noted that attention must be paid to the development of renewable energy sources and more stringent environmental regulations. He further assured that Africa was committed to the renewable conversation, saying to overcome energy poverty, concerted and collaborative efforts with great emphasis on technology adaptation must be emplaced. Chief Silva name-checked the cooperation among OPEC and non-OPEC producers and how this has led to the appreciable stability in the global oil market and the need to move from security of supply and demand to security of markets. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has stated that the partnership between the organization and the Russian Federation to stabilize global supply of crude oil has been transformative and effective. OPEC Secretary General Dr. Mohamed Barkindo made this known at the 16th annual meeting of Valdia Club in Sochi during a special session on energy. Dr. Barkindo highlighted the success of the OPEC-Russia relationship, adding that the partnership has evolved into a permanent transformative force in the energy market. He praised the invaluable support of President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Minister of Energy, Alexander Novak, for the declaration and charter of cooperation.
The OPEC Plus have become a reliable and dependable sources of supply. The world should not panic, and the Saudis have shown beyond any reasonable doubt that this resource, its supply, is guaranteed.
The OPEC scribe noted that the signing of the Declaration of Cooperation in December 2016 between OPEC and non-OPEC countries reversed the severe downturn that beset the industry between 2014 and 2016, stressing that the action contributed to an improvement in the global economy in 2017 and 2018. He maintained that the 24 participating countries have chosen the path of cooperation, dialogue, transparency, and openness, even as he stressed that the Charter crystallizes these intentions and provides them with an overall framework. Meanwhile, Dr. Barkindo has praised Saudi Arabia for its swift action in restoring oil production, saying its fast recovery demonstrated the country's role as a dependable and reliable global energy supplier.
We remain calm because we had confidence in the leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Aramco to rise to the challenge to ensure that there is no shortage of supply. He was just telling me before we met with President Putin that they were able to ensure that there was no force majeure for quite a while, and this was extremely remarkable.
The OPEC Secretary General also met with the Nigerian Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, energy ministers from Iran, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, Azerbaijan, and the Russian Federation during the Russia Energy Week in Moscow.
The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, has restated Nigeria's commitment to the Oil Output Cuts Agreement executed with the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Malam Kyari said the NNPC was discussing potential investment opportunities in Nigeria with Saudi Arabia's national oil company, Saudi Aramco, and ADNOC of the United Arab Emirates, including potential petrol supply with Aramco Trading. Kyari told journalists at the 9th Gulf Intelligence Energy Market Forum in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. He added that Nigeria hoped to raise oil production to about 3 million barrels per day in the next 2 to 3 years. The NNPC GMD added that the corporation was exploring the possibility of ADNOC investing in midstream pipelines and refineries in Nigeria. OPEC's share of the cut is 800,000 barrels per day to be delivered by 11 members, with exemptions from Iran, Libya, and Venezuela.
sincerely as a management appreciate the support of NNPC, the contribution of NNPC towards the commencement of occupational health services.
The Chief Operating Officer downstream of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mr. Adeyemi Adetunji, has reaffirmed the total commitment of the top management to support the NNPC retail to achieve its objectives of all-round availability of petroleum products to satisfy the energy needs of the Nigerian consumers. Mr. Adeyemi, who spoke on the sidelines of the Downstream Directorate's scorecard sign-off ceremony in Abuja, expressed the readiness of management to give unwavering support to the retail company so it could help stimulate the growth of the Nigerian energy and gas market. The NNPC Chief Operating Officer downstream further highlighted the special purpose of the scorecard sign-off as a collective resolve by the managing directors and the group general manager of the SBUs under the Downstream Directorate to harmonize its top priorities to ensure that the Malam Mele Kyari-led management achieve its mandate of impacting positively on the lives of Nigerians across the country. He itemized the top priorities of the Directorate to include ensuring availability of petroleum products at all times, guaranteeing functionalities of pipelines, rehabilitating oil pipelines, servicing automation, improving the bottom line. This, he said, also includes debt recovery. Part of the highlight of the scorecard signing event was the launch of an in-house newsletter called Motion by the retail subsidiary. A highly elated Mr. Adeyemi said the launch of the newsletter was a milestone for the company, noting that the publication would not only enhance communication with the public and stakeholders, but would help to improve the retail brand as the publication seeks to be a credible source of information, data and current oil and gas affairs.
Good evening and welcome to the feedback segment of the program. My name is Julia Auta. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has cautioned against encroachment on its pipelines right-of-way by some individuals and communities. This week, our camera on the street brings to the fore the dangers of illegal structures on the NNPC's pipelines right-of-way.
Building on pipeline, it can lead to explosion, but the proper awareness have to come from the government agencies that are responsible for that.
The only thing that anyone that is building on pipeline road should do is to evacuate from pipeline road because it's very disastrous. Because if it happens, it will take life and destruction of property and everything.
As in, the people should be afraid of their life and do something that will prevent them from any danger. And then secondly is that the pipeline, if maybe we have something of vandalization or anything like that, it will affect the nation's revenue.
It's not good to build house on top of the pipeline because pipeline can leak at any time and they have exposed there and people may perish.
Most of the finished product pass through those pipelines, like fuel. And you know that fuel is highly inflammable. Just like the high tension. We're supposed not to build on these areas. Those areas are prohibited.
Because before you can build, you have to consult ages. They will tell you the axis that a pipeline has passed through.
There's some people that are just built in illegal. But that thing is wrong. It's not good like that. It's not supposed to be done in that way.
It's a very bad decision they're taking, building on a pipeline. If there is a fire outburst or there's a leakage somewhere else, it can result to a very huge catastrophe.
When you build on the pipeline, first, if any danger comes, the others came out, the thing can explode from there. So my advice to them is not okay to be building on the pipeline.
In fact, for your own safety, it is advised to leave. When you are told that is where pipeline is, they should flee for their life.
Erecting illegal structures on NNPC's pipelines right-of-way is dangerous, harmful, and could lead to loss of lives and property. This is the much we can take. Stick around for the other segments.
NNPC is doing a great job. They have shown that they have the interest and commitment not only in their primary duties but also in building the community around them. They've created this platform to challenge students and also to reward them for academic excellence.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello and thank you for joining us on yet another educative segment of the program. My name is Abigail Ojogo. Did you know that the federal government created the Nigerian National Oil Corporation (NNOC) via a decree in May 1971? Subsequently, Nigeria joined the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC) in July 1971. Did you know that Nigeria became the 11th member of OPEC and the 3rd African country to join the organization? Nigeria had its first stint with oil boom in 1974 as production rose to over 2 million barrels. Did you also know that the federal government merged the Nigerian National Oil Corporation (NNOC) and part of the Ministry of Mines and Power to create the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) on 1st April 1977? I'm sure it has been educating. Please stay tuned for the rest of the program.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil futures were largely flat, reversing gains made earlier as fears over the worsening global economic outlook that hit prices hard in the previous session offset modest hopes for progress in resolving the US-China trade war. Brent crude oil futures were 3 cents lower, or 0.1%, to $57.66 per barrel after tumbling 2% in the previous session. Meanwhile, US West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures were up 9 cents, or 0.2%, to $52.73 per barrel after sinking by 1.8%. World equity benchmarks hit their lowest levels in a month during the week as signs of a slowdown in US economic growth and weak earnings in Europe fanned fears that global economy could slip into recession. Also hurting sentiment in the previous session was US crude inventories, rising 3.1 million barrels last week, according to the country's Energy Information Administration, far exceeding analyst expectations for an increase of 1.6 million barrels. Brent futures are now well below levels seen before the September 14 attacks on Saudi Arabia oil facilities that briefly halved more than half the kingdom's output. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Owigo Okolo.
What is this? This is oil well. Oil well? And this is what the Ghanaians called black gold. There is plenty money in this business. By this time tomorrow, I'm going to buy a brand new jeep. Next month, I'm going to buy a whole house. House? Yes. You need to show me the way. Show us the way. You mean you want to be rich? Oh yes. You want to level up? Oh yes. You see, the ones there, let's go and pack it. And after that, I will take you there. Let's go. Hello? Oga? Sir, these people have started their operation again. Abeg, send me 5 battalion FG guys. Thank you, sir. So, sir, you can buy everything you want to buy. I will buy a shop. You are under arrest. Your hand on your head. If you move, I move you. Let me warn you all. Anybody or community that is involved in vandalization of our oil pipeline will face the wrath of the law. NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Well, for those out there, you can always make it on stage. You can always win. Just work hard, focus, and everything will come your way.
That's our package on oil and gas forum for this edition. Officially, the new week starts now. Make it count. Bye.